Okay, it's recording. Let me share my screen. I don't know if anybody else does. When I'm by myself in the office or I'm by myself at the house, I talk to myself all the time. I don't know if anybody else does that or not. But can you see the screen? Can you hear me? Could you see the screen?
I can hear you,
Okay.
but I don't see the screen.
Let me go back again and see. Okay, now I just didn't. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is our agenda for today. We have a pretty packed evening, but it shouldn't be, over the top as far as our time is concerned. It's just that we've got to cover a lot, during the time that we're here. Our presentations today are going to be Daryl and Mayra. And again, reminders that Stacy and Renee will do peer review Daryl's presentation, and Caitlin and Julie will peer review Mayra's presentation. Next week, we will finish up with these assignments, and we will deviate a little bit, the same kind of format, same kind of presentation, but the content will be differently. We've looked at the PSEL standards for the last several weeks through standards 1 through 10. We're going to look at the 5 digital competencies, and our presenters next week will be Amber will be digital competencies 1 and 2. Renee will be 3 and 4, and Paulette will end us up with 5. And you can see who our peer reviewers are as well for each of these assignments. So just be prepared for that. Dr. Bullis is not going to join us tonight. However, if you need to speak with him about anything, you know how to reach out to him. He will probably join us. I would assume maybe by next week to see if you've got any questions. I will tell you though, congratulations. I know now all of you can take a sigh of relief. All of the evidence work is done. Highly pleased with with the PSYOPs. Even if we had a rough road to begin with a few of you, I'm still pleased with your scores, so don't beat yourself up over it. But it did make a difference with me reaching out and voicing my concerns. So we'll see. But job well done. I'm pleased. And now you can thank me. You can say, thank you, Dr. Stebbins, for pushing us so hard so that you have this behind you. Isn't it a good feeling to know that you don't have to think about those 6 evidences as far as work is concerned anymore? So a job well done. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you did. That brings us to the rest that you have to turn in for Dr. Bullis. Elizabeth did reach out this week, and she is in South Carolina, and she's trying to get certification in multi areas. So Dr. Lamb did tell her that actually have to the first couple of 3 days in August if you're working on some things to get your internship log in. However, if that doesn't apply to you, then just please follow the schedule and get it in, when you're supposed to. If there is something that you're working on and you need, just talk to me about it or Dr. Bullis about it, and we will work with you with that if it means, especially South Carolina, because South Carolina is so different with how they look at their certifications in some areas. So we'll be glad to work with you. Elizabeth, I had to find out if that was doable before, so that's why I sent the email like I did and included
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
so he could make that final decision. I knew what the answer was going to be. I just was not the one that can make that answer, you know. So I knew what he was going to say, or I felt like I knew what he was going to say. So several of you have already gone in there and you've done your School of Ed dispositions. You've completed competency analysis. It doesn't take a long time to do that. So I would encourage you to go ahead and, get as much of that done as you can. But with the competency folio, make sure that you spend quality time on that and you represent yourself well, and you represent Dr. Bullis and me well, and the university well. That is, I will tell you, the folio and your internship logs are going to be those are high commodities with DPI when they are looking at your certification. So make sure that, this becomes a part of your professional portfolio. You can use this as you're looking for jobs. So just please make sure that you do your very professional job on it. That's what I would ask you. Elizabeth?
Yes, sir. If our folio has been evaluated, does that mean it's met DPI's standards? Or will it be an additional evaluation?
That means that it has met Gardner-Webb standards and it will
Okay.
be submitted to DPI.
Okay.
But if you've met Gardner-Webb standards, that's going to go through your clinical coach 2, and Dr. Lamb is going to look closely at that.
Okay.
So if you have gotten through, and Dr. Lamb has been on the task force for all of this stuff at DPI, so he knows exactly what they're looking for. So if you were asked to correct anything, you should be okay. So that's a good sign. But before we move on, does anybody have any questions about where you are with the remaining work that you have to do for task stream? Are there any questions of me at this time? Everybody good? Well, if you get into something, get bogged down, and you can't get Dr. Bullis, you can always call me. So just reach out to me as well if you have that situation. I'm going to wait, and then we're going to talk about case study 2 after the presentations. Just a reminder of assignment 8, the Strengths Finder book. I know one group, Zoom group, has completed it. Their presentations have been submitted for grade. I have not looked at any of those yet. I did open one of them up and just scanned it, but I have not spent the time to grade those yet. So, don't worry about that. You'll get it before, I'll get that before the weekend's over with for you. I've talked about number 6 already. And again, this is a reminder about that. And just a reminder of your assignment 9, case study 3. And we will follow the same format with that we're following tonight and with the first one that you did. And then the last night will be with Dr. Lamb, again, doing the interviewing format for the things that you should do to have a good interviewing techniques. I can't think of the word, but he's talked about that with you some, but he'll go into more detail with it. And even if it's a good place in your career and in this program to be reminded of some things, especially now. So with that in mind, did everybody see the announcement the reminder I sent out today? And Dr. Stone had sent it out as well to get that information to him. Several of you have already. If you would, please take the time and try to go ahead and get that to him, because it will take him some time to put together a program that he's putting together with that information. So if you would, please go ahead and submit that to him if you can tonight, but no later than tomorrow, if you can go ahead and take care of that. It won't take you long. Was talking to Elizabeth earlier, and your picture can be an informal picture. Many of you that have submitted already, you've included your family, significant other, children with you. It doesn't matter. If it's you and a pet, you can put your pet with you. It's whatever you want it to be. And then just answer those three little questions that he asked you to do. So at this point, are there any questions about anything at this point, as we have pretty much laid out what the next 3 weeks should look like? Any questions? Or next 2 weeks? Any questions? Okay, that's good. I'm going to minimize this and let me see if this will pull up. Okay, now you go to my email. Let me pull up Daryl's. Okay, you can see I've got your there it is. Okay, now let me see if let me find it. Here's the link. So I'm going to click on it and then I'll stop immediately if for some reason this is PSEL standard 9. If you can't hear it, let me know.
Good evening, everybody.
Can you
I am.
give me a thumbs up if you can hear it? Good. Okay, good.
Surgery on Monday of this week, and so hopefully I'll be ready and good to go by Wednesday. But I just want to make sure that I was prepared and I had a recording just in case.
Dr. Tubb, sound's going out for me. It's glitching. I don't know if it is for everybody.
It is for me as well.
I'm wondering, could we open the individual links in our own computer? We had to do that with virtual school stuff.
I could hear somebody saying something. Can everybody hear that? Or
No, sir, it's glitching. It's really delayed, so we can't hear. We can see your mouth moving, but we can't hear.
I am going to Renee, I'm going to send it to you and let you figure out what to do with it, okay?
That works.
Is that okay? Okay,
Yes,
now
sir.
let me come out of this. Now, y'all, this is totally out of my element. I am not a technology person. Okay, now I've got to figure out. Oh, I there. I come out of that. Okay, Mayra, while I'm getting this, just don't, I'm going to stop sharing in a minute. Go ahead. I will go with you first, and that gives Renee time to get this ready. Is that okay with you, Mayra?
That's fine.
Okay, let me go ahead and I've got to pull this up again and find my my email.
Okay.
Man, that's not what I want.
It looks like you're still sharing.
I am. Give
Okay.
me a second. I've got to send this email to Renee, and let me just okay. I'm gonna stop sharing. Give me 1 second, guys. There. Now let me try again. do that. Renee, I am lost. I lost my email and I'm trying to go back and find it. What am I doing wrong, guys? Tell me. It's not that. Let me do this. Let me log back in. This system will lock you out in a heartbeat with just a wrong move. Okay.
Dr. Stedman,
Yes.
did you put it, I think I see where you put it out on the shell and I can pull it up from there.
Hey, can you?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, if you can do that, you just be ready for when Mayra finishes her. So I will stop this.
Okay.
I will come back and thank you for being so technology savvy.
I'm not promising anything.
Well,
I'll try though.
we'll figure it out. So Mayra, I'm going to turn it over.
All right.
Turn it over to you at this time. Okay.
All right. All right. Hello everyone. Can everyone hear me okay and see my screen? Okay. So my name is Myra Wilcox, and I will be talking about PSEL Standard 10, which is school improvement. So this is what's on the agenda, and I'll go ahead and get into it. So, sorry, I'm just gonna minimize this. So professionals, this PSEL, which is Professional Standards for Educational Learners, it is, we've been learning about this for weeks. It's a model for, they're model professional standards that communicate expectations to practitioners, support institutions, professional associations, and it's something that the State Board of Education helped to guide their licensure and professional development programs. So, okay, so PSEL 10, school improvement, is effective educational leaders act as agents of continuous improvement to promote each student's academic success and well-being. These are a few of the standards. I know that we all have access to this, but I'll just talk about a few of the points that are on here. So an effective leader seeks to make a school more effective for the teachers, staff, for students, teachers, staff's family. They use the vision, mission, and core values of the school. They continuously improve it. They prepare the school and community for improvement, promoting readiness and instilling mutual commitment, accountability. It's an ongoing process. So it's data driven, and it encompasses instruction, curriculum, and so it's an ongoing thing. So it's also, school improvement is also used to assess and develop the capacity of staff to assess and value the applicability of emerging educational trends and finding of research for the school and its improvement. And I'll just go through a few of these things. So when an effective leader is implementing these things, they're going to adopt systems, they're going to manage all the kind of the uncertainties of it, and they're going to develop and promote leadership amongst teachers and staff using innovative practices and just implementing improvement. So why is this, what is the standard measure and why is it important? So this standard measures if and how effective leaders are using research and data to improve student achievement, curriculum and instruction, as I mentioned, professional learning experiences, and communication with stakeholders. So we all know that that's important. Just making sure that we're communicating things to our stakeholders. And this standard is the driving force for continuous improvement, right? In education, we're constantly working to improve our curriculum, student achievement. And so it's important for it helps keep leaders and schools accountable. So school improvement is this particular standard helps keep leaders and schools accountable. So what are the things that that are improving? Curriculum instruction, student achievement, professional development, the mission, vision, and goals, and as I mentioned, communication with stakeholders. It is overall school progress. So according to the NCDPI website, when you're planning for school improvement, it's more than just a plan. It's seen as a framework for change, a map that that identifies a school destination with a direct route, and it requires decision-making and action from a variety of stakeholders. So that's kind of the great thing, is that it's not just the leader making all the decision, it's a team and making decisions together, using data to make first identify any issues, and then to figure out what needs to be implemented. So according to so I'm focusing specifically on North Carolina, just because that's where I'm teaching. That's where I think the majority of you teaching. I know some of you are teaching in South Carolina and other states. But so according to the NCDPI, it's really important that when you're developing a school improvement team or a school improvement plan, that you have school staff and parent representatives, and it has to be obviously students that are enrolled in that particular school. So the team meetings must be at convenient times. So since there are parent representatives, obviously it's going to have to be something that's going to be after school. And if these meetings are happening during the day, the teachers have to have a duty-free lunch period. The plan should be data-driven. And the principals can only submit to the board if the majority of the team approves the changes that the school improvement team is planning to implement. Or so that's one of the great things is that it's a team decision. It's not just the leader making the decision. So in North Carolina, there are 12 key indicators that you can use to help drive your school improvement plan. And so the things that these indicators focus on are classroom management, students, curriculum and instruction, making sure that that the school is regularly communicating with the stakeholders. So kind of a lot of things I've already been mentioning. So just those main things. So professional development, student achievement, curriculum and instruction, and communication with stakeholders. So those are all things that while you're working on your school improvement plan, you look and see how your school is doing, you use the data, and then you can use these key indicators to be your driving force for whatever changes you want to make. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my school. So I work at Wake Early College of Health and Science. We are a magnet school, which our theme is health science, but we're also an early college. So we are currently on 2 campuses. We have our 9th and 10th graders on one campus, and we have our 11th, 12th, and 13th or super seniors, as we call them, on another campus. Our current school report card is an A, and so according to when you look at our report card, we're doing pretty well. The makeup of our school, we currently have about 328 students. 72% are Asian, 22% are Asian, 20% are Hispanic, 23% are Black or African American, 30% are Caucasian, and then we have about 5% that are multiracial. A little less than half of our students are eligible for free and reduced lunch. We are not a Title I school. As I mentioned, we are a magnet school, and we are application. So these are our current test scores. Our students are performing fairly well in the 4 EOC subjects. Our main area of need or deficiency is Math 1. So I will talk a little bit more about that further down. So our vision is that through best practices, we will, and shared vision, we are creating a culture of continuous improvement and exposure to the fields of health and science. And our students will typically graduate with an associate's degree along with their high school diploma, or in addition, they can get a certificate in a health science field. So like CNA, medical assisting, phlebotomy, these are kind of like some additional things that they can achieve while they're with us, or attain. So at WEX, some of the things that we're doing as it pertains to school improvement that we're doing well is that we do have a large school improvement team. We only have 29 staff members, and at least 12 of them are on our school improvement team. It's made up of all of our department heads, which because our school is so small, sometimes either a couple of department heads that are department of one. We do have 2 parents on the school improvement team. And of course, we have our 2 administrators, our assistant principal and our principal. So I think that's something that we're doing really well. Our school improvement team meets monthly, and another thing is that we have a lot of professional development opportunities. As an early college, we are part of the Early College Network through RTI, and it's something that we participate every year. A lot of our staff members even present at a lot of the sessions that are there. So it's something that we're very active in throughout the school year. Our staff members go out to different schools and do school visits, and we have had a few other early colleges come visit our school and provide feedback. And so we really take advantage of this membership that we have and this opportunity. We have an instructional coach on staff that works with the teachers one-on-one in POCs, and also in PLCs. And then, of course, for certain things, we offer stipends for professional development, for ongoing training. So that's another thing that we're doing really well. Another thing that is our strength is that we focus on student achievement. We're constantly using data, so our EOC testing. I am actually the intervention coordinator at my school, so I look at grades regularly, I provide supplemental support for students. So we have lunchtime support, we have after school support. This year we were able to offer a summer camp for students who were struggling in certain subjects. Throughout the school year, we offer after school remediation, and we offer ACT prep for our juniors. Usually it's during their seminar time, or we've taken advantage of once our upperclassmen are done with their exams, school is still in session. So we have kind of like ACT boot camp. So we do focus heavily on student achievement, making sure that if we identify any areas of need, that we provide the students the support that they need. And we, we do arrange our master schedule kind of around that. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when we look at the rubric. So those are just a few pictures of us developing professionally and presenting at the Early College Network. These are just a few of our students just during their study time and just getting some math support. Some of the areas of improvement for our school is that as a school, there's staff meetings, there are PLC meetings, there are intervention meetings. And so something that I would recommend for our school is perhaps having our school improvement team meetings, maybe at the start of the month, so that we're not kind of all meetinged out. I think it does kind of, it can feel like an extra chore or task. I think it'd be very important for our school improvement manager to be to prevent like to share information with us prior to the meeting. Sometimes we're presented information in our meetings, and so we're using that time kind of as a working like a working meeting. So this is something that as a leadership team we've talked about, and we're hoping to make some improvements this upcoming year. We do have some changes happening in our staff, but another thing that could use some improvement is our curriculum and instruction. As I mentioned, our theme is health science, so just making sure that we are implementing health science across the board. Our students do take an elective class. It's a health science class, and of course in science they cover some of the themes, but just really implementing it in like their English classes and their social studies. So this is something that we can improve. It's something that we've talked about as a staff as well. This year, I know that Wake County was rolling out their diversity and inclusion roadmap. So this is something that we are cognizant of, and we're trying to make sure that that diversity and inclusion is throughout our curriculum. And the last thing that we can work on as it pertains to curriculum instruction is just implementing more technology. It's an ever-changing area. And so, especially with our kids going into the health science field, just making sure that they're up to date with the latest technology so that they can be prepared and in the competitive field. And lastly, just stakeholder involvement. So although we have 2 parents that are on our school improvement team, they're staff members. I'm a parent. That includes me. So my child goes to our school. So I serve as a staff member and a parent. And there's another coworker who's also a parent. I think this is a pro and a con in the sense that we kind of can be a bit biased. It's also our workplace. So my suggestion for this year will be that we have a parent that perhaps is not on a staff member. And we have talked about more parent input. So providing, giving out surveys and just having more parent input as it pertains to school improvement. And something else that we can do to make some improvements, maybe hold town meetings to inform parent about curriculum and any initiatives that we have. We do provide our parents with just basic information about what's going on, but I don't think we really involve them as it pertains to the curriculum. and any changes that we're, we've talked about implementing. So we are doing a lot of these things, but these are some areas of improvement. So if I were to rate our school, I'd say that we're developing. As I was looking at our, if we were an effective school leader, I do feel like that we hit most of these areas, but I know as a staff, we've talked about our master schedule, and we have our lunchtime support. It is very short, so if there were some way that we could extend that, that would work well. And as I mentioned, provide opportunities for our stakeholders to maybe lead some of the initiatives. The other thing that we probably need to work on, or that I'm seeing is not is an area for improvement, is demonstrate significant gains in our student achievement. As I mentioned earlier, our Math 1 scores are a little low, and so we have focused a lot of our school improvement plan around improving the Math 1 scores. We have, as I mentioned, created camps and after school support. And so we do feel that part of the Math 1 deficiencies are due to the pandemic and kind of like the residual effect. So we are making strides, but not significant gains just yet. So we're hoping that in the next couple years, we'll be able to bring those scores up with our continued efforts. So does anyone have any questions?
Mayra, you brought up a lot of just really some thought-provoking things. First of all, I don't know if you've never worked at an early college or you're not familiar with it, it's a different world. It's public education, but it's so different from anything else in public education. There's a lot of challenges there. Now, Mayra pointed out that that they were an A school, had a grade of 94. That is great, but there's challenges with that because once the bar is set high, and how do you maintain and take it to the next level? A lot of work and effort has to go into that. Most of the students they're there because they were high achievers, in elementary school and in middle grades, or else they could not handle the rigor that's involved in the early college. By the way, Mayra, when the early college started, 15, 18 years ago, when it first started, I was an assistant superintendent, and in our county, I was the assistant superintendent that was held accountable for making sure that it was on the road and it was right. So I was with it from the very beginning. So I understand, a lot of what you're talking about because of my experience with it. And there's a lot of challenges with that, but you have done a great job identifying, the strengths of your school. And then even with that, I really was impressed with the fact that you looked at all of that, and as good as you are, you said we're still developing, but you were able to back that up. And, that's hard for administrators to recognize sometimes because, the human part of us, we always want, there's nothing wrong with being developing though, as long as you don't stay there. So, you did a great job looking at that and indicating why. And as far as Math 1's concerned, that really is a statewide, it's not just your school, it's a statewide issue. And, the thing is, ninth graders typically are the ones that are taking Math 1. Based on what their foundation was in math in 8th grade determines how successful they're going to be in that math one class. So, they're coming from different places, different worlds. So that is really, it's going to continue to be a moving target, and it's going to continue to be probably one of your biggest challenges. But, I think your point on with, identifying those things. I like the fact that that you shared with them the North Carolina STAR key indicators. This drives the school improvement plan, and I don't know if you had time to look at it or not, but look at that. For as a principal or as somebody that's working with the administrative team, you actually could take that and make it become a checklist. As an administrator, are we doing this? Where are we with that? And as a principal, it can guide you personally in your leadership with basically all of those PSEL standards, throughout. And I don't know if you recognize this. This particular standard is almost like the PSYOP. It's a culmination of everything else that all filters into that. And again, Mary, you did a good job pointing that out. Mandy, you have a question or a comment?
I do. I just, you talked a lot about your school improvement team, and we're kind of in a revamping phase with our school improvement team. And one of the things that I've suggested is that we actually include students in the school improvement team. And I'm getting a little pushback from a couple of our administrators about it, but I was wondering if y'all had thought about that at all. Is that something that's on y'all's radar, or?
I don't recall if that's ever come up. I mean, I personally like the idea. I appreciate, student input. But I don't think that's something that's come up. But I
And
like
Mayra, that's a good point. Who said Mandy? That's a good point, especially, with the caliber of students you have, Mayra, having super seniors, they're at that level where they're almost like they're mini adults by the time they get to that point. So, that is really something to highly consider. I think you've probably got a lot of highly qualified students that could serve on that team well. So that would be a good thing to handle. Elizabeth.
Yeah, so this is kind of just a question, not about necessarily what you presented, but I'm curious, with you not being a Title I school, and clearly having the science and mathematics base, like you could see it in the projects, obviously, how does, with the school improvement plan should drive the budget of the school, like where are you guys getting the funds, since you do not receive Title I funds, where are you guys getting the majority of the funds to do that and to supplement with the programs that you're doing? Is it strictly in your general budget, or y'all having to do grants?
It's just our general budget. So even
Okay.
though we're a magnet school, we're just like a regular public school. We just don't get that additional Title I funding. And I should backtrack and say that our target audience is first generation students. So we do get a lot of students that come to our school because they're focused and determined. And I think that's what's really great, is that it kind of reduces some of our behavior issues, because we're not a base school. We don't just it's application. You have to have certain grades. You have to have write an essay, and that essay is evaluated. So there are certain marks that you have to but we just have our general funding. So
okay. So y'all obviously have a pretty supportive general funding.
Yes.
Okay.
Elizabeth, one of the things about it, Wake County and Charlotte-Mecklenburg, they are some of the highest supporting school districts. They have some of the highest tax bases and revenue supports in the state.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. I worked for Wake County for a couple of years when my husband was in grad school at NC State. And I remember the supplement alone as a teacher was very nice. Yeah.
So
But that applies even to magnet schools, Dr. Stebbins. So magnet schools, are they met with the same ratio if they're a public school as every other school?
If Wake County has set them up as a magnet school, they have found funding in addition to take care of the needs of that magnet school.
Got it. That makes sense.
Renee?
Mine was more to answer Mandy, and I think Amber had put it in the chat as well. Our student council president is actually on our sit team. And since we've done that, this is our third year, excuse me, doing that. Since we've done that, we've actually seen quite a bit of changes, and it's given voice to the students more, and it's little stuff like we don't want chocolate milk, we want strawberry milk, but it's little stuff like that that actually makes the biggest difference, that helps them and makes things it boosts that morale just a little bit more among the students.
That's good. That's good. Anyway, great job, Mary. You shared a lot of great information. Renee, were you able to get it? Good. So I'm going to let Renee take charge of it then. This is going to be PSEL Standard 9.
All right. I have it pulled up.
So go ahead.
Can everyone see?
Jay, but I just wanted to make sure. Good evening, everybody.
Can everyone hear?
I am Daryl, and I'm going to be presenting Standard 9, and you're probably wondering why is this recording coming up? And the reason is I'm having unexpected dental surgery on Monday of this week, and so hopefully I'll be ready and good to go by Wednesday, but I just wanted to make sure that I was prepared and I had a recording just in case. I can't actually present anything on Wednesday due to just some discomfort and possible medication intake, so you just never know what I'll say on some medication. So Dr. Stedman, thank you so much for allowing me to record this. I had already had everything prepared, and then unexpected things happen. So you just got to go with the flow. So again, Dr. Stedman, thank you so much for allowing me to record it and present it to my peers. So tonight I'm going to discuss PSEL Standard 9, and that goes with operations and management. So when we think about operations and management, for me, I went right to safety and security of the building, but it actually has a lot of different components and dispositions that we'll go over. So I'll go through those, give an overview of those, and then also how we can see it in a school building. So with Standard 9 operations and management, effective educational leaders manage school operations and resources to promote each student's academic success and well-being. So you'll see over here, I attached this little snippet. You have a lot of different areas that fall within that standard. So it's not just the safety of the building, but it's also just the managing of the building, the scheduling, all of that, making sure everyone's like getting along, the technology. So it's a lot of different things that fall within that component. So before we get started, just a major question to ask yourself as we finish up this program and when we move into our leadership roles. So as a school leader, what practices, processes, and procedures do you use to create efficient and effective learning environment? So what are some things that your administration does now that you're going to take? And what are some things that you are going to improve on for when you become an administrator? So I'm going to go ahead and review the dispositions and the different components. So effective leaders institute, manage, and monitor operations and administrative systems that promote the mission and vision of the school. Effective leaders strategically manage self-resources, assigning and scheduling teachers and staff to roles and responsibilities that optimize their professional capacity to address each student's learning needs. And effective leaders seek, acquire, and manage physical, and other resources to support curriculum, instruction, and assessment, student learning community, professional capacity, and community and family and community engagement. So as an effective leader, you just want to make sure that you are fiscally and physically responsible and you're using all of your resources that are provided to you and to your building. You also want to make sure you're managing all of your staff resources and that you're also scheduling your teachers fairly. So later on in the presentation, I have a couple of examples of what's used at my school that is what I deem effective and pretty great. And then moving on, effective leaders are responsible, ethical, and accountable stewards of the school's monetary and non-monetary resources, engaging in effective budgeting and accounting practices. Effective leaders protect teachers and other staff members' work and learning from disruption. Effective leaders employ technology to improve the quality and efficiency of operations and management. And effective leaders develop and maintain data and communication systems to deliver accountable information for classroom and school improvement. So with ethics and protecting your staff, you just want to make sure you're protecting your staff from any disruptions. You're employing technology day to day, and you want to make sure you're communicating and you have that good communication plan within the building and within your district. So that's, just communicating. It's not just within the building, but also how are you communicating with other schools and how are you communicating with other district personnel. Also, effective leaders know, comply with, and help the school community understand local, state, and federal laws, rights, policies, and regulations so as to promote student success. Effective leaders develop and manage relationships with feeder and connecting schools for enrollment management and curricular and instructional articulation. And effective leaders develop and manage productive relationships with the central office and school board. So really what all this leads to is you need to know all of the state and local laws. It's not like you don't have to memorize all of them, but also know where to find it if you need to look something up. And you also want to maintain a relationship with your central office. So if you don't know something, you want to know the correct people to ask. So if you need clarification on things that happen within your building. And effective leaders develop and administer systems for fair and equitable management of conflict amongst students, faculty, and staff, leaders, families, and community. And effective leaders manage governance processes and internal and external politics toward achieving the school's mission and vision. So really just making sure you're handling the internal and external politics of your school. So some just main takeaways, 3 world action examples. So you want to make sure you develop a reporting issue system. So how do teachers report if a window is broken or a door won't properly close? So for me, I know that within my building, I would just go to my assistant principal. And but it's important that the teachers know. So just having that kind of procedure in place is important. Definitely develop communication plans. So how do you get information to teachers if there's an emergency or school is canceled? And also develop and implement plans to handle building and personnel issues. So how will you make sure teachers are aware of the school crisis plans that are in place? And then also, how will you handle teacher conflict? Because we know that every day is different, and we know that's, it's hard to have adults work together sometimes. So if a teacher comes to you with conflict, how are you going to handle it? Are you going to have procedures in place so that they know? So just things to think about in those real world examples. So why is this standard important? The standard demonstrates effective change management and an ongoing basis for innovative and continuous improvement. You need to have relevant content, instructional human development, and technical knowledge and skills, shared responsibility, and structures for continuous improvement, innovation, and assessment. Creating structures to support and spread innovation. It also fosters a system that supports personalization, enhances continuous improvement, and personalized approaches with the use of technology. So with all of that being said, I'm going to introduce my beautiful school. So I work at Mary MacArthur Elementary School. We're located in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That is also by a big military installation. It was Fort Bragg. Now it's called Fort Liberty. We are an A+ elementary school. So what that means is we are in the fine arts. So as part of our resource schedule, we also have dance. My principal is trying to move towards a STEM school. So she's researching that, trying to get those different things in place. So until then, we are an A+ school, but we're trying to transition into STEM or to STEAM. We're a Title I school. We have about 411 students. We are in a very a lot of transition within the district. So we have children that will come from one school within the district to our school, go back to another school. And sometimes we get them all within the same year, like several times. So we very transient for sure. We are pre-K through 5th grade. So we have 2 EC pre-K classrooms, 1 Gen Ed pre-K classroom, and then we go all the way up to 5th grade. And what's very interesting about my school is we serve our elementary age DHH population for the county. So that's the deaf and hard of hearing. So we have 2 classrooms. We have a K2 DHH classroom and a 3-5. And if you have never seen that in place, like, I just highly recommend it. It's so fun to go into their classrooms. They're teaching the same content within their classrooms, but they sign everything. So it's just a wonderful thing. So that is something that is very interesting about our school and makes us different. So some student information, what you'll see, I broke down our demographics. We're about 51.3% African-American at our school, and then for 17.4% white students, and then 16.2% Hispanic students. And then we trickle down just a little bit more, as you can see. We are 71.9% economically disadvantaged. At our building, we also serve all 100% of our students get free breakfast and 100% of our students get free lunch at our school. So some of our staff information, we have 14% beginning teachers at our building. So they will also go through the beginning teachers program. So it's about 3 years, I believe, and they have a mentor teacher, and then they'll have someone from the county come into their classrooms and observe their classrooms. 86% of our teachers are what we say experienced teachers. They are out of that program. They have years of experience under their belt. And on this graph, you can see I've just compared it to Cumberland County schools and the state of North Carolina. Our school also has VIF teachers. So we have several teachers from Jamaica that come here, and they are contracted with us to teach with us for 5 years. And then after 5 years, they move on. So 33% of our staff are VIF teachers. They are experienced teachers, but they also go within the VIF teachers as well. So our academic performance, our performance grade is a C. We are 55%, our grade is a 55%. So you'll see here, we've met our growth. Of course, meeting our growth after COVID was relatively easy. Our scores were not great. So we definitely made that growth, and the goal right now is maintaining. So we want to maintain, and then we want to push. And then you'll see over here, I went ahead and put our EBOS in. We actually met expected growth in science and reading for 2023. And then for math, we did not meet our expected growth for 4th grade. So really just wanting to target that area. So we took that information and try to ramp it up with those 4th and even our 5th grade teachers, because they'll get those children. And then I just wanted to show some pictures of our school. So we are the Cardinals. And so this is our staff right here. And this is our kindergarten team. I should move my face out of the way. Our kindergarten team from kindergarten to beginner's day. And then this is our principal with one of our first grade classrooms. We've always got something going on in our school, always an activity, doing something. So just some examples that I wanted to share with you all regarding the operations and management and what you'll see day to day are our schedules. So that is definitely something that my principal excels in. So at the beginning of every year, we get what we call a cardinal nest, and that's just something in our Google family. It's where everything is housed. So any information that they need at the beginning of the year, throughout the year. But what our principal does is she puts all the schedules in one Excel spreadsheet with tabs. So you'll see, which is amazing for my role, because then I know exactly where everybody is at what time of the day. So you'll see this our master schedule, so where everyone is. Then over here is the resource schedule. And we actually share our resource teachers. So you'll see here Thursday, that's grayed out because our music teacher is actually going to be out of the building. She goes to her other school. We are her payroll school, but she goes to another school. Going into next year, it's going to be interesting because music, art, and PE, they are all grayed out for Wednesday. So I got to actually work on that schedule for my my principal. She gave me the reins, which was very important because the schedule is her baby. So that was really interesting. It was a lot of fun to work on. So you'll see over here, we've got dance. That's part of the A+ school. So because we're an A+ school, we keep our dance teacher all week long. And then media success hour. So those two schedules are going to alternate. So we have our students will go to media on an A day and then or A week, and then we've got a B week. And success hour is what we use. We've looked at our math scores, looking at EBOS and things like that. So that is actually a certified teacher and an assistant work in there. And they do a lot of standards-based math games, math instruction to kind of support that area for our students. And just another example, just our schedules again. Again, she is very big on schedules, agendas. You will know what you need to do at every point of the day. A meeting does not start without an agenda being provided. So it's been wonderful to work for her. So you'll just see here, she's broken down the lunch schedule and then our duty roster. So if we have any teacher or staff member who's not at the classroom in the morning or the afternoon, they have somewhere where they need to be in order to effectively manage and operate the whole building. We all have a job to do. So then moving in, there's my principal and our assistant principal at Mary MacArthur. So I wanted to go ahead and analyze the teaching working conditions survey in regards to operations and management. So I broke down our responses regarding time. So our teachers, they had to rate how strongly they agreed or disagreed with the following statements about the use of time in our school. And so you'll just see over here, we have the state and the district, and then our school right here. So some positives that I see, our teachers definitely think they have time to collaborate with their colleagues, and the time is protected from outside of their duties. So 91% of our teachers believe that they have that time to collaborate with their colleagues. We actually, on our schedule on Mondays, K2 have data dives for 40 minutes, and that's where I will lead them with any data or information we need to go through. And then on Tuesdays, they actually have back-to-back PLCs, so back-to-back planning, where they utilize that data from Monday and they start planning their small group or whole group instruction, whatever we need to do. That time is really protected. So I don't try not to use their time then to do some PD or things like that. I really like to support them in what they're going to do for their instruction. And then for 3-5, they have Thursday data dives and then Friday PLC. So they just have to alternate resource for 3-5 doesn't happen on Tuesdays, and then there's no resource for K2 on Fridays because they've doubled up. But when we look at this, we have some areas that we need to grow. Something that really saw were the teachers having minimal time. Teachers are allowed to focus on educating and teach students with minimal interruptions. And yes, that's 83.78%. However, that should not be, that should be like 100%. There should be no interruptions with their day to day. There are some things that we're trying to put in place with regards to that so that we don't have, that percentage can be higher. Some things that just, I think a lot of it is just other people within different departments are unaware of the schedule, even though it's there, they don't tend to look at it. So instead of dropping an email to a teacher, they're calling the teacher or showing up in their classroom. So there are interruptions with the instruction. So then another area was the non-instructional time provided for teachers in my school is sufficient. So that's 72.9%. We definitely want to get that to go up. So we're kind of thinking about doing duty-free lunch. We have put, just giving those teachers like that non-instructional break time they may need. So what can we put in place for them so they can just have like that minute? We do have our resource teachers on a schedule to do lunch duty, but the teachers are still expected to be in there. They can pop in and out. So kind of gravitating towards that is a possibility, but not a guarantee. Now, the other area, efforts are made to minimize the amount of routine paperwork teachers are required to do. Our teachers don't have to do a lot of paperwork in our building, but our district does have a lot of stuff that they have to do with regards to MTSS, SST, like the injury reports, things like that. Those aren't things that like are really in our control right now. It's something that we can address at the district level if need be. So that's kind of what we're working on. So as a coach, we do have meetings once a month, and then they have forms that we fill out of things that we need improvement or questions and concerns. So that's kind of where we can put it. They also do that with our principal and AP meetings. But really that routine paperwork is not like a mandated thing from our building. It's more of a district level thing. The other area when analyzing the teachers' working conditions survey is facilities and resources. So just the maintaining of the building, printers, technology, things like that. So when we look at this, some pros are environment promotes teaching and learning. Okay, and then access to resources and technology. So we'll see over here that our teachers do feel, so 94.74% teachers have sufficient access to instructional technology. They have sufficient access to digital resources as well. So those are looking good. Over here, 97.37% of our teachers feel that the physical environment of the classrooms in the school supports teaching and learning. Now, an area where we see over here, the teachers, 81.58% of our teachers agree. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's just, it could be better. Their reality and speed of the internet connections in the school are sufficient to support instructional practices. So our building isn't like one building. It is more of like a building, you know, like each grade level has their own building, and then we're kind of an exterior outside school. So that's how we go from building to building, is through breezeways. So the internet can be a little spotty. We do have connection resources in each building, but they do go out. Again, it's not fully in our control, right? So just also as their coach and just administration, just making sure that if something does happen with technology, they have an area where they can move to something else. They don't have to rely solely on that technology. They're really, over here, if we look again, we have 86.84% of our teachers, the school environment is clean and well maintained. So that is something that we need to work on. That is definitely something that we see. We have 4 full-time custodians. So obviously they come in at staggered times, but we do definitely have for the size of our building, the size of our classrooms, we definitely have the personnel that can support this. So yeah, it's something we need to look at, because coming into a classroom that's not been vacuumed each night it's kind of a little bit difficult for our teachers and our students. So then I wanted to also go in and look at managing student conduct. So that's kind of where I see, when I look at that, just areas of concerns, like 76.32% of our teachers agree that students at the school follow rules of conduct. That needs to be higher, because if they're not following the rules of conduct, then your whole day is going to be shot. So it's going to be difficult. 76.32% of our teachers believe that school administrators consistently enforce rules for student conduct. And then over here, 98.95% of our school administrators support teachers' efforts to maintain discipline in the classroom. So when I look at this, teachers enforce the conduct of our school, right? Even though that's still like lower, but they do enforce it. Just some grows with this, policies and procedures are understood by staff. So like when I think we are a PBIS school, however, I don't think anyone can tell you what the matrix looks like, what the procedures are to be put in place. And that definitely needs to be there. That needs to be something that is a goal for SIT and for the administration team, leadership team, everything moving forward. Because if you don't have clear expectations, it's not going to work. And I think that that's why we see that students don't know the rules of conduct, and therefore the administration isn't supporting, because there needs to be steps and procedures in place before it even gets to administration. So that is something that we are looking at as a team. And then also the overall safety of our building. So I love that I can see here that 100% as in all areas. So the school has a written plan that describes procedures to be performed in active shooter situations or lockdown situations. That's 100%. Teachers 100% agree that the school has a written plan that clearly describes procedures to be performed in natural disasters. And 100% of our teachers also agree that the school provides effective and ongoing training and safety procedures to staff. So that's awesome. That includes the lockdown drill or fire drill. We do that consistently throughout the year. However, our teachers are notified when the fire drill or lockdown drill is going to happen. So we have actually had a few of our EC EC pre-K students actually pool, because unfortunately there wasn't the cover on the fire alarm at the beginning of the year. They've since like fixed that, but like they would pull it. So, and then teachers wouldn't know if it was like real or not because it wasn't on the calendar. So I think having that just shows that even though 100% of them agree it, they're not all going to be following it. So like I'm going to my area as a member of the crisis team, and I have people stopping me if this is real. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be the alarm's on, we're going. An area where I can see, even though it's 97.3%, teachers in this school know what to do if there's an emergency or natural disaster during the school day. That should be 100. If everything else is 100%, then that should be 100% as well. So I just think putting things in place at the beginning of the year and following it up throughout the year will help teachers feel at 100% that they will know what to do. But I definitely feel like that shows putting things on a calendar is helpful because it helps you with maintaining your interruptions for the day, but it also defeats the purpose of, if it were to actually happen, like would they be able to handle that? So there needs to be that balance for sure. And then I went ahead and broke down our strengths at our schools. I'm just going to move over here. Let's go. So after looking at the teachers' working conditions survey, data shows that strengths are in 3 areas. I pulled 3 areas. So 1, teachers feel that they have adequate time to plan with colleagues. That's super important always. The physical environment in the classrooms and the school supports teaching and learning, because that is what we are here to do, teach and learn. It's a big motto at our school. And the school has a written plan that describes procedures to be performed in active shooter situations or lockdown situations and or natural disasters. So again, our classrooms do have all the required things. We make sure at the beginning of the year, there's like a checklist that they're ready to go. But we do have to make sure that they know how to use those things, right? So opportunities for improvement at Mary MacArthur. So after looking at the teachers' working conditions survey, data shows that MMES needs improvement in these 3 areas. So 1, teachers are allowed to focus on educating students with minimal interruptions. This needs to be top priority, because if we're here to teach and learn, we can't be interrupted throughout the day. The school environment is clean and well maintained. That needs to also happen. Things need to be put in place for that. And teachers in this school know what to do if there's an emergency, natural disaster, or a dangerous situation. So I know that's a 97%. However, that needs to be 100%. So things need to be put in place to ensure that there are steps and procedures for the overall operations of that as well. So before we get into my action plan, I went ahead. I love Stacy's presentation. I thought everyone's done a great job, but I really liked that she had the examples and the rubric. So I emailed her shortly after her presentation, and then I was able to look at that. So I went ahead and put in for Standard 9 just overall examples that you'll see in order if you're ineffective, developing, accomplished, or exemplary. So those are types of things that if you want to take a look at that you can. So how to get to those levels? Again, thank you, Stacy, for that information. So when I looked at the rubric, the overall rating for our school were accomplished. I think that our principal and the leadership team, that she's definitely put things in place to allow for the day-to-day to go. Schedules are in place. There are things to be put in place for disruptions, but it always could be better. So I definitely think plans have been developed to do that. So that's in that area, you'll see developed to do employees. I do think that there are things that have been developed to put things in place. So I think in order to get to that exemplary level, it now needs to be the application process of all of it, ensuring that it's working. And if it's not working, what can we do to make it better, right? And then also getting that next level to have the teachers and the staff take it upon themselves and getting them involved. But I do think that we're on a very great track for that. So I've also went ahead and established an action plan. So after looking at the data and action plan, I have developed an action plan based on the information. Some of these things have been put into place throughout this year as we've done our different evidence pieces, and some things are going to hopefully be put in place for next year, at least discussed at summer sit. So a checklist will be placed in each classroom and utilized daily by the custodial staff. So this checklist will act as an accountability piece and monitored by the assistant principal on a weekly basis. So I think that teachers knowing the responsibility of the custodial staff and then the custodial staff being held accountable is going to help bridge that gap between keeping the building clean and well maintained. The master calendar schedule will be shared and reviewed by teachers and staff at the start of each month. This will occur at the first staff meeting of each of the month. So we have put this into place, and this is kind of just helped with those not knowing things are occurring on the day-to-day, so they feel like their instructions not being interrupted. We're also going to make sure that everyone is held accountable with the master schedule. So, and also having those discussions with the different departments and making sure that they understand, like, we're not going to call throughout the day. Things can be sent through email, give teachers at least 24 hours to respond, things like that, so that teachers aren't having to like snag attendance reports because they got a phone call and they're told you've got 5 minutes to do it, because that just throws off your whole entire morning. The administration team will also be present for the weekly PLC meetings. This will be evident in the agenda and through the documentation of walkthroughs and the IRM form and coaching tracker. So this is something that we have implemented this year while we've worked on our evidence pieces, just our principals and administrative team being there so that they also know what's occurring within the building. They know how things are running. They also are able to hear concerns if that is something that is going to be discussed through that agenda. So just being present and aware is super important. Also, looking at the conduct, we're going to develop a PBIS. We do have committees, but within those committees, PBIS kind of falls to the side because we have our it's the student support committee, but they really do like the school announcements, flag, what else? Safety patrol. So kind of gearing, maybe having a proposal is to develop a PBIS team. That's all that they're to do. And it just need to have explicit instructions and demonstrations regarding PBIS expectations. Because even though we have experienced teachers in our building, having those VIF teachers, we get at least 2 or 3, the way that things have staggered, 2 to 3 each year who are new. So we just have to remember, first we got to develop the plan, but then we also have to remember to continually address it and not just assume everybody knows. I'm also big on demonstrating and modeling, so letting them see what it's going to look like will be helpful. So this is something that we are going to discuss at Somerset. Developing a reporting system for teachers. So what to do instead of just running to the AP about like a window that's cracked or something, having maybe like a Google form or something put in place so that they can easily report it, and then we can also track that data. And then ensuring modeling of emergency drills are done at the beginning of the school year and revisited throughout the course of the year. The beginning of the year is so crazy and hectic and chaotic, but taking the time to model those drills is incredibly important. And then just revisiting. I also think as a member of the crisis team, we do discuss
Well,
words, but that information is not shared to staff. So I think.
I'm sorry, Dr. Simmons, did you say something?
So you just got to go with the flow. So again, Dr. Seven, thank you so much for allowing me to record it and present it to my peers. So tonight I'm going to discuss PSEL Standard 9, and that goes.
Renee, I didn't say anything. I don't know what that was. I think we're towards at the end of it anyway. So it's okay. Go ahead. We're
Okay.
we're at the end of it anyway. Something happened because I could hear a voice in there. I don't know what it was, but anyway, guys, when as you reflect back on your evidence work, which evidence was mainly the focus of this standard? Which think about the evidences. Which one would you associate with this standard 9?
Was it OMA?
OMA.
The OMA, absolutely. I mean, the OMA was wrapped, all into this. But I think, and Daryl did an excellent job. I mean, she covered a lot of territory in that presentation. But I think, the biggest thing as an administrator is to know that it's all of this is equally important as student achievement, dealing with teachers, teacher efficacy, and all this is equally important. And you've got to have your, you cannot you've got to know what to do and how to do it. And I like the way Daryl focused on, even though they had high percentages on the teacher working condition survey in a lot of areas, 2% or 3% from being 100% when it comes to safety issues. I agree with her. You've got to have 100% because if something happens, all it takes is one time for it to be, impact your life, a child's life forever. So, those are areas that, you should strive as an administrator to make sure that, that you have prepared your staff with the safety plans, the guidelines, the tools that they need to know what to do. But again, Daryl did an excellent job, laying out a lot of great information and aligning it with the work that you have done with the OMA. One of the things, I am very familiar with this school being a neighboring county to Cumberland County. And one of the things that Cumberland County does is they have a lot of specialty schools. Now, you notice she said that they were a school of the arts. And so, and the area that she's talking about, I mean, over the years, things have changed. And you have a lot of, and she talked to you about the low socioeconomics of the area. You've got a lot of children that, if they were not being exposed to the arts at the school and all the positives that come from the arts, most of them would never have those opportunities. So this is an area that really greatly benefits from the school being identified as a school of the arts, and they've got, all kinds of schools in Cumberland County. One of the advantages is, again, they have a really good tax base. Children, per pupil expenditure is a high amount per student because they are, because of Fort Liberty, what used to be Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty, and they get a lot of government funding from there that some of you would never get a part of because that funding is based on the number of children that attend these schools that have military parents. And so a lot of extra funding. That's where they get high supplements. There are a lot of, just a lot of perks that, and it's because of where they're located and everything. We lose a lot of teachers in our county to go there because of you know, they make more money. Can make more money there. So, but anyway, great job. Any comments? I know Daryl will listen to this. Any comments back to Daryl, you know, before we move forward?
I just wanted to say that you can tell she takes pride in her school and has built a really good rapport with the administration team. And I don't know if that was present before she started doing the evidences, but you could tell that she had collaboration with them the entire time.
Right. I think she embraced that community, and I think the community embraced her back. So great job. Thank you for that comment, Elizabeth. We're going to move on to the next part of, and this will be the last thing that we do. Let's talk about case study 2. Now, remember, I sent you some information out. I said I was just going to just say we're moving on to case study 2, and I was going to look at you and see where leadership arises. So I'm going to just say, this is how I'm going to start. I need somebody in a nutshell to surmise case study 2, and then I'm just going to sit back for the next, I'm going to say at least 10, 12 minutes, and I want to hear what you've got to say about this case study. Okay? So I'm waiting for a volunteer.
I can go. I can kind of give a synopsis really quickly. So in case study 2, Javier was in the front office at a school, and he was going to have to be moved, and he did not like this. So he became very upset with, I believe her name was Rose, the one who was taking over the position. And so because he was upset, he started spreading rumors about the person, and making other people dislike that person as well, because Javier had really good relationships with the people at the school he was currently with. Well, he ends up going to the second school, and he's still unhappy about it. So he's still spreading rumors. He still wants to prove that he's better. And so when the opportunity arises, they're collecting cards from families at their school in order to make it look like he did the job better and faster. He actually ended up falsifying information and forging signatures onto cards, and probably would not have been found out, except a parent came and handed their card directly to the principal, who decided to then put it in the file and realized that there was one already there for that parent with a different signature. And when they looked further into it, found multiple that Javier had signed.
Thank you, Amber.
I just wanted to add to that, Amber. I was listening, but I was just shutting the door because of conversation outside. But I think that one thing that I picked up on, did you mention, Amber, that it was a district released survey? Because that kind of popped up in my mind, and it made me wonder if they weren't utilizing that to do their district Title I plan or something like that in terms of money. And so that in the back of my mind made me wonder, when reported, would the repercussions be greater, because it could impact, you know, parent input with funding, that kind of thing. So
It said it was a federal survey.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say too. It's
Okay.
a federal survey, which
Okay.
makes it that much worse because it's
Yeah.
fraud.
yeah,
It made me think that it would be reported on the report card,
that
the results, if it was
Yeah.
a survey like that.
Federal cards, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Stedman, this goes back to what he was saying, Fort Liberty. That's where the taxpayers, if your parents are money, or if your parents, or the parents of the students are military, their taxes for schools are allocated differently. And you're talking about millions of dollars. It's not necessarily a survey, it's more of, where are these funds going to be sent from the DoD? So that's kind of a big deal. Working with the Department of Defense, and not necessarily with federal cards, but just with the paperwork in itself, they're very, very peculiar about how it's signed, the color of the ink that is used, the line that it's used on, or anything else. I mean, like one small misplaced signature, one small misplaced check can make the difference of whether your district gets tens of thousands of dollars or not. So it's kind of a big deal, not to mention it's a federal crime. He's falsifying federal documents.
Well, and Renee, that I was glad to hear your input on that because that was when we had to look up how it connected to school law. With forgery, it depends on the amount of money that was spent. And so hearing you say that made me think that there's potential for a pretty big deal. So
For our district, because we are connected to a military base as well, it's literally millions. And when they come in, we do everything that we possibly can to bribe our kids to get these federal cards back in because, you think 1,000 here and 1,000 there, it adds up to be millions when you've got that many within the district. It's a big deal.
so does it depend on the amount of cards that are returned in regards to the money that you receive?
It depends on the amount of military parents, because so let's say that when I was in the military, when I was in um my home base or my home of record is North Carolina, but I might be serving in Louisiana. I might be serving in Pennsylvania or somewhere like that. But I'm paying North Carolina taxes and I'm paying federal taxes. So what they do is they look at those cards and they look at the taxes that you have paid in and they divvy out from there according to where your child is going to school at. And that's where it's a big deal. So if you don't get those cards in and they're not properly done, and they're not done by that deadline, there is no leeway on these cards and they're not done by that deadline, you're talking about losing millions of dollars for your district. And when you're talking about getting into falsifying one document and much less 36 documents, that's a big deal because now you're questioning thousands of documents. And so it's really, like I said, it's really a big deal. It's not like he's putting it on just a regular survey that, out of all things, forge something else, not a federal card. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, that's kind of where I was at. Like, don't forge that. Forge something else if you've got to do it. It's not ethical to start with, but I mean, and he's in this one-sided competition to start with over what seems to be jealousy. Not worth it, because you think one signature can land you 5 years or more in prison. You're talking about 36 signatures from the federal government.
And now
Um,
the reputation of the school has been tarnished. So that school will have a really difficult time to even gain the trust of those students, parents, and community again.
Well,
Renee,
my question was,
Renee, excuse me, it's called federal impact aid forms.
Yep.
That's what they're called, federal impact aid forms. And the reason I know, when I was an assistant principal, that was one of my responsibilities. And I have gotten in my car and gone to home
Yes.
to get the signatures
Yes.
before.
It's a very stressful time. People want, like, you're only allowed to release them on a certain day and you have to have them back by a certain day. And it's so funny because principals want to release them early, but the district won't even, because they can't risk it. I mean, when it comes to those Department of Defense documents, they're very strict on them, and anything that could jeopardize any funding, they're very, very peculiar about them.
You don't play with the federal government. And she was talking about even signing documents. The child
Didn't realize it
nutrition,
was that serious.
the child nutrition program, because I have an academy and it's a public academy. When I am signing off on child nutrition documents, most of us sign in black ink. Am I correct? Most of us sign everything. You have to sign those documents in blue ink only. I mean, it's just the way it is. So
About 5 years ago, we had a federal card that come back. Now, if you don't know anything about the military signs their dates very different. They'll start with the year. So let's say 2024, and then it'll go to the month, and then it'll go to the date. Well, civilians, we don't sign like that. We sign differently. I had to send cards back because it was not formatted in that date properly. And they would deny. Now, since then, they've actually lightened up on that a little bit. because they understand that, majority of America doesn't put a date on there like that, and it is causing millions of dollars to not be claimed. So they've lightened up on that. But I remember having to send federal cards home because of the date format.
I will tell you, most of you will start out as assistant principals. It will be your job. That will be your job. You will be over federal impact aid forms. If because even if you are a long ways from, I mean, every school has the opportunity to fill them out, because if you've got 100 in your county or in your district, if you've got 100 children, that's dollars from the federal government. So you're going to get something. So, but,
Dr. Seven, do you have to be located close to a military base to see that?
no,
Or if you have any military families in your school,
any
okay.
military families, yes.
Okay. Do you have to have a percentage of enough students to receive funds? No. Okay.
If you've got one, you qualify.
Okay.
Qualify for something. And the reason, in the county I'm in, Robinson County, we connect with the county where Fort Liberty is located, where Fort Bragg is located. Actually, the town I live in is you leave my town going down Interstate 95, and you hit Cumberland County. So I'm that close to the Cumberland County line. So we had probably some of the highest percentage of military people living in our town, because we were like a bedroom community to Cumberland County. So we actually, the school where I was, and I was in the largest elementary school in the county, and so we really did. It was a big deal for us. We got nothing like Cumberland County schools, but we got a lot of money from the federal impact aid forms. So going back to Javier, he messed up, didn't he? He messed up. Now, I wouldn't have just slapped him on the hand if it was me. My personal opinion, I don't think that they were hard enough on him. I think it was a much bigger deal than what they made it out to be. And I think after Renee shared what she shared, I think you can understand why something like that. So the buck stops with you as an administrator. Now you can't take it but so far, but don't brush things under the rug and say that, because guess who it's going to come back to bite if you do that, and guess who's going to be held accountable for that? Not just Javier, but you're going to be in there with him. I like orange, but I don't look good in orange. That's not my favorite color. So I don't want that to be what I have to see every day. Malika, you have a question or comment?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I also think that he should have been reported for bullying, defamation, and harassment as well. And that probably would have prevented him from doing something so crazy had he been held accountable for all the other things that he were doing.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that, because, I think he was allowed much too much freedom to move on. Now, when I was at the central office, I would have followed due process, and I would have done everything else. But at the most, I would have suspended him from work. He would have been gone for a while, and we would have seen where that went from there. Malika, have another question?
No, I'm trying to lower my hand.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Well, guys, I think we've said enough. And Renee, thank you so much for sharing. That was need to know information for all of you.
Absolutely.
So you're going to share. All of you are going to experience this as administrators. So that was good to know information. So we gained a lot more than just the case study information from this. So well done. Great jobs tonight, y'all. Renee, thank you for taking care of me and being
No worries.
and being my Vanna White tonight and taking care of me. So,
Anytime.
but anyway, are there any questions before we close out about anything for next week?
No, sir, but Doug texted me
Go
and
ahead.
wanted me to let you know that he was having connectivity problems. Like he kept bouncing in and out. So
Okay.
he's
Okay.
like, I'm trying to get in, but I can't get back in. I
Okay.
don't know what to do. So
Hey, he can watch it. I'll send it out. But
Okay.
thank you guys. I know y'all are ready to get over it. I am going to miss you. You know, I look forward to my Wednesday evenings. I really do. It's just been, I'm so glad that I had this opportunity, to be with you, at the end again. So you then reconnect and everything. But thank y'all so much. And, you know what you've got to do to finish. And most of you are, you're just about there. You're really at a good place. And guess what? I didn't tell you this. I had the option of not having class last week and extending it to the next, adding a week on to the end. But I said, we're going to go ahead and get it over with. So guess what? We're going to be through a week earlier than everybody else because we did that. I didn't even tell you. I said I'd wait until this week to tell you, and you would be happy then that we did it. So anyway, good job. So good night, y'all, and I will see you next week, okay? Okay, bye-bye.